5 elite thieves are planning to steal $25 million from a bank, but the job is far from easy. Besides the police, they're also being hunted by a ruthless Russian gang because the crew stole the gang's original plan for the heist. What starts as a simple robbery soon turns into a deadly game of cat and mouse, with so many twists that you'll never guess who ends up walking away with the money. So let's dive into the story of Takers. The movie begins in Los Angeles, where we're introduced to detectives Jack Wells and Eddie Hatcher. They're leading a raid on an apartment to arrest 2 criminals. As the operation begins, Wells successfully catches one suspect, but the other escapes from Eddie's grasp. Wells can't believe that a top detective like Eddie could let a criminal get away. The story then shifts to a federal bank in Los Angeles, where a different operation is already underway. A professional crew known as the Takers has arrived to rob the bank. Each member enters separately to avoid suspicion. 2 disguise themselves as delivery workers, while another poses as a bank employee. Hidden inside a large delivery box are their weapons and equipment. They quietly gather on a floor that is still under construction, where they prepare for the robbery before putting their plan into action. With nothing more than a few silent gestures, everyone moves into position and begins the operation. The team's leader is Gordon Jennings, the mastermind behind every part of the plan. Working with him are John Raway, AJ, and brothers Jake and Jesse Attica. Once everyone is in place, the real heist begins. Gordon and John ride the elevator straight to the vault floor. As soon as the doors open, they detonate a C4 charge inside the elevator, filling it with smoke. In the security room, the guards immediately notice the smoke on their monitors, and all their attention shifts to the elevator. That distraction is exactly what Gordon planned, because while everyone is focused elsewhere, the rest of the crew can break into the vault unnoticed. Meanwhile, Jake and Jesse are already waiting outside the vault with a massive drilling machine. Even though the loud drilling echoes throughout the floor, nobody notices because they're all distracted by the apparent elevator emergency. Once the vault door finally opens, the crew rushes inside and begins stuffing bags with cash. As they work, Jake checks the timer and warns that they have only 3 minutes left before the police arrive. But at that exact moment, an alert bank employee secretly triggers the silent alarm. One of the robbers notices the employee who triggered it and rushes over, holding him at gunpoint. Instead of stopping him, the robber calmly orders the terrified employee to finish the call and clearly tell the police that the bank is being robbed. As soon as the report goes out, a television news crew races to the scene in a helicopter, hoping to be the first to cover the breaking story. When the helicopter reaches the roof, a security guard signals it to land. What no one realizes is that the guard is actually part of the Takers crew. The moment the helicopter touches down, he pulls his weapon, takes control of the pilot, and the rest of the team quickly joins him on the rooftop. Within seconds, they board the helicopter and fly away, leaving everyone stunned. By the time the police storm the bank, the thieves are already gone. It is clear these aren't ordinary criminals but a highly skilled crew with a flawless escape plan. They eventually land in a remote area outside the city, destroy the helicopter with explosives to eliminate any forensic evidence, and split up, each going in a different direction so no one can trace them. When detectives finally inspect the bank, they realize the robbers have completely disappeared without leaving any useful clues behind. The detectives review the security footage but find almost nothing useful. With thousands of people using the elevators that day, it's impossible to tell who went where or when. The only memorable detail is that one of the robbers turns toward a camera before leaving and gives it a stylish salute, showing just how confident the crew is even during a major heist. Detective Eddie Hatcher tells Jack Wells that some of the stolen cash may contain marked bills, which could help track the thieves if the money enters circulation. He also suggests analyzing the explosives used during the robbery, hoping they might reveal a clue about the crew. Wells regains some confidence and begins planning the next step in the investigation. The story then shifts to a prison, where a guard opens a cell and releases a man named Ghost after he completes a 4-year sentence. But who is Ghost and what is his connection to the Takers? Ghost is actually one of the crew's original members. In fact, he and Gordon Jennings founded the team together. During a robbery 4 years earlier, Ghost was captured by the police while the others escaped. The crew had one strict rule: if anyone got arrested, they would never reveal the identities of the others. Ghost honored that promise, spent 4 years behind bars, and never betrayed his teammates. Because of that loyalty, the rest of the crew still respects him deeply. Ghost is known as one of the crew's most loyal members. After leaving prison, he heads to an alley where he had hidden cash and a handgun years earlier. Once he retrieves them, he meets with a Russian gang. During their conversation, the gang's leader tells Ghost that he couldn't have arrived at a better time. Ghost replies that he spent his 4 years in prison putting together the perfect plan. The Russian leader smiles, convinced that something huge is about to happen. But what exactly is Ghost planning? That answer comes later. Ghost then visits John Raway at his house. When John opens the door and sees someone standing outside, he instinctively points a gun at him, only to realize it's Ghost. Ghost tells John that he wants to join the crew for one final job. John explains that Gordon Jennings is still holding Ghost's share from their previous heist and says he'll discuss the new proposal with the rest of the team before giving him an answer. Ghost asks him to let him know as soon as possible. Later, the entire crew gathers to discuss the offer, but before they reach a decision, Ghost unexpectedly walks in. Jake Attica immediately becomes uncomfortable. The reason is personal. Before Ghost went to prison, Lily was his girlfriend. After his arrest, she and Jake fell in love, creating obvious tension now that Ghost has returned. Ghost finally reveals his plan to the crew. He explains that in 5 days, an armored truck carrying about $25 million will travel along a specific route. Using a detailed map, he shows exactly where the truck will be. When asked where he got the map, Ghost admits he obtained it from a Russian gang. In return, they only want a small share of the money. Gordon Jennings is stunned by the amount, but he immediately rejects the proposal. The operation is happening too soon, making it extremely risky. The crew also follows a strict rule. After every job, they must wait 1 full year before pulling another heist to avoid attracting police attention. Ghost argues that this opportunity is different because the truck changes its route every day, meaning the map will only be accurate for 5 days. Missing this chance would mean walking away from an enormous payday. After thinking it over, Gordon admits that bigger risks often bring bigger rewards, and an opportunity like this is too valuable to ignore. The rest of the crew eventually agrees, but Gordon quietly warns everyone to keep a close eye on Ghost because he suspects something isn't right. The team immediately begins preparing for the operation. Beneath the truck's planned route runs a large sewer tunnel connected to several exits across the city. Their plan is to detonate C4 explosives beneath the road as soon as the armored truck passes overhead. According to the plan, the explosion will create a massive crater in the road, trapping the armored truck inside. The crew will then steal all the cash before disappearing without a trace. To prepare for the job, AJ is sent to buy C4 explosives. But the deal quickly turns into a trap when the supplier keeps the money and has 3 men attack him. AJ, however, is an exceptional fighter. He knocks the first attacker out with a powerful punch, throws the second across a table, and twists the third man's arm before dropping him with a hard kick. Just then, John Raway and Ghost arrive, completely turning the situation around. Outnumbered, the supplier has no choice but to hand over all the C4 explosives to save his life. Meanwhile, Detective Jack Wells continues investigating the bank robbery. He discovers that the thieves used C4, an explosive supplied by only a few dealers. Following that lead, Wells and his team raid one of the suppliers. After breaking through the door, they find 2 Russian gang members inside. The Russians immediately open fire, forcing the detectives into a shootout before one of them is captured. During the search, Wells finds a detailed subway map. Although it doesn't provide direct evidence, it convinces him that Ghost is somehow involved. Digging deeper into the case, Wells soon uncovers Ghost's true identity and begins connecting him to the crew. Wells discovers that Ghost had been serving time for a bank robbery and that the federal bank was robbed on the exact day he was released from prison. That coincidence gives Wells a major lead, so he begins secretly following Ghost. After leaving a market, Ghost meets Gordon Jennings and the rest of the crew. He also hands Gordon a dispatch schedule he obtained from the Russians. After discussing the upcoming job, everyone goes their separate ways. As Jesse Attica leaves, he casually gives the group a stylish salute. The moment Wells sees it, everything clicks. He remembers seeing the exact same salute in the bank's security footage. That means Jesse was one of the robbers. And if Jesse was involved, the others are probably connected as well. Convinced he's getting closer to the truth, Wells starts following Gordon. Meanwhile, John Raway realizes someone is tailing them and reaches for his gun, ready to stop Wells. But just before acting, he notices Wells with his young daughter and decides not to shoot. Later, Wells returns to the police station and carefully reviews Gordon's records, hoping to find evidence linking him to the robberies. To his frustration, Gordon's file is completely clean, leaving no clues behind. Seeing this, Eddie Hatcher tells Wells that he's probably wasting his time chasing a former convict without solid evidence. Wells begins wondering if his investigation has been heading in the wrong direction after all. Meanwhile, another problem begins to unfold. Gordon Jennings' sister, Naomi, is struggling with drug addiction, so Gordon had placed her in a rehabilitation center. 3 days after the bank robbery, she is released and goes straight to Gordon's hotel. Because he's busy preparing for another job, Gordon gives her some money and checks her into a different hotel. A few days later, Naomi runs away and eventually ends up in police custody. Around the same time, the police arrest another man carrying cash stolen from the federal bank. During questioning, Detective Jack Wells learns that the money came from a woman named Naomi Jennings. The moment Wells hears her last name, he realizes she must be related to Gordon. That connection finally convinces Eddie Hatcher that Wells has been right all along. Both detectives are now certain Gordon's crew carried out the robbery. Gordon later arrives at the station, gets Naomi released, and tries to take her back to rehab. But Naomi refuses to cooperate. During a heated argument, she suddenly jumps out of the moving car and runs away. Gordon searches everywhere but can't find her. He knows that if Naomi is arrested again and questioned, she could unintentionally expose him. Even so, the crew has no choice but to stay focused on the upcoming heist. Before long, the big day arrives, and everyone takes their assigned positions. Disguised as a traffic police officer, Ghost begins directing traffic along the planned route. Ghost's job is to guide the armored trucks onto the planned route. Meanwhile, the rest of the crew, dressed as construction workers, waits inside the tunnel beneath the road. They have already planted C4 explosives on the tunnel ceiling so they can detonate them as soon as the money truck reaches the target spot. However, Gordon Jennings still doesn't fully trust Ghost. To be safe, John Raway watches him through a sniper scope from a distance, ready to shoot if Ghost makes a suspicious move. As time passes, the trucks fail to arrive on schedule, and the crew begins to panic. Gordon radios the team, saying something must have gone wrong. Just then, 2 armored trucks finally appear. The first carries the cash, while the second is only a decoy. Ghost immediately begins directing traffic like a real police officer, stopping every other vehicle and clearing the road so the convoy heads straight toward the tunnel. As the lead truck approaches, the crew detonates the explosives. A massive explosion shakes the entire street, tearing open a huge crater in the road. But at the last second, an unexpected cyclist rides directly in front of the truck. Forced to slow down, the driver stops before reaching the exact detonation point. Instead of falling into the crater as planned, the truck remains safely on solid ground. With the truck stopped in the wrong position, the guards jump out with their weapons and start firing toward the tunnel. The crew takes cover and fires back, but the situation quickly turns chaotic. Before things get worse, John Raway abandons his sniper position and rushes down. He climbs onto the armored truck, knocks the driver out, and takes control. Then he crashes his truck into the front vehicle, finally forcing it into the massive crater. However, the guards keep firing non-stop, damaging John's truck and causing him to lose control. The vehicle crashes into the fallen truck, trapping the injured guards inside. Taking advantage of the chaos, the crew breaks open the damaged truck and discovers bags full of cash. They quickly grab the money and prepare to escape through the underground subway routes. Before leaving, they count their earnings and realize they have stolen $19 million, making it their biggest robbery ever. Meanwhile, Detective Jack Wells receives news of the heist and rushes to the scene with Eddie Hatcher. Although Eddie has faced corruption allegations, he is still on the force. When they arrive, they find only a destroyed road, smoke, and the aftermath of the explosion. The entire crew has already disappeared with the money. Seeing the massive crater reminds Wells of the burned subway map recovered from the Russians. He immediately realizes the robbers must be escaping through the underground tunnels. Wells and Eddie rush to a nearby subway station where they spot Jesse Attica running with a heavy bag of cash. The moment Jesse sees them, he starts running for his life. During the chase, he hides the money bag inside a bush and continues escaping on foot. Wells orders him to stop and warns that he will shoot, but Jesse refuses to surrender. He runs into a hotel kitchen, hoping to disappear. However, Eddie follows him inside, and the 2 men suddenly find themselves facing each other with guns drawn. Eddie demands that Jesse lower his weapon, but Jesse insists that the police officer go first. Eddie refuses to move, leaving Jesse with no choice but to fire. The bullet hits Eddie in the chest, allowing Jesse to escape. But a shocking truth is revealed later. Eddie actually wanted Jesse to shoot him because he was a corrupt detective who had accepted money from criminals. If his corruption became public, he would lose his job and his family's respect. Desperate because his sick son needed expensive treatment, Eddie chose this dangerous path to protect his family. The criminals had paid Eddie more money than he could ever save through an honest career, pushing him into a desperate situation where he made a terrible choice. Meanwhile, the sound of gunfire brings Wells rushing into the kitchen. He immediately calls for medical assistance, but it is already too late. Before dying, Eddie grabs Wells's hand and asks him to take care of his family. Watching his partner die leaves Wells completely devastated. Later, Wells's superiors show him a secret recording that proves Eddie was accepting bribes. However, since Eddie died while on duty, the department decides to erase the evidence permanently and protect his family's reputation. Meanwhile, the takers feel completely safe after securing the stolen money. They gather at the Roosevelt Hotel to divide the cash. Gordon Jennings gives Ghost a bank card containing his share from the previous robbery. John Raway then hands Ghost $250,000 and asks him to deliver it to the Russian gang. Just then, Jesse arrives and reveals that he shot the police officer. Everyone becomes furious because their bank robbery carried a maximum sentence of 5 years, but killing a cop would bring a much harsher punishment. Gordon angrily confronts Jesse, but when things get heated, Jake steps in to defend his brother. The crew hands all the stolen cash to Scott, their manager, who specializes in laundering dirty money and making it appear legitimate. Meanwhile, Ghost secretly leaves the room and calls the Russian gang, telling them to come to the hotel and collect the money they are owed. This is when his real plan is revealed. Ghost manipulates both sides by telling the Russians that Gordon Jennings is holding their payment. His goal is to make the two groups destroy each other so he can take the entire fortune for himself. It shows how carefully he planned everything while he was still in prison. After receiving the call, the Russian gang arrives at the hotel heavily armed. They storm Gordon's room and immediately open fire. The crew takes cover and fights back as bullets fill the entire area. AJ hides behind a table and provides heavy cover fire, holding off the attackers long enough for the others to escape. However, after a long battle, AJ is hit by a bullet but refuses to stop fighting. The Russians eventually surround him and kill him with a final burst of gunfire. In the chaos, nearly all the Russian attackers are eliminated as well. Taking advantage of the confusion, Ghost quietly escapes through a bathroom window. Later, Gordon returns to his hotel room and discovers that the lock has been broken. Seeing the broken lock, Gordon realizes that Detective Wells must have searched his room. He quickly heads down to the garage, picks up Naomi, and drives toward the airport. Meanwhile, Jake and Jesse return to their hotel and find Lily's body lying on the floor. Seeing her death and Ghost's disappearance, they understand his betrayal. Filled with rage, they grab their weapons and leave to take revenge. However, the police have already surrounded the hotel. Refusing to surrender, Jake and Jesse open fire, but they are quickly overwhelmed and killed in the shootout. Their greed for money has destroyed the entire family. Meanwhile, Gordon calls John, who reveals that Ghost has gone after Scott to steal the remaining money. At the airport, Ghost shoots Scott while he is preparing to board his private jet and takes the cash. But as Ghost leaves with the bag, Gordon arrives and holds him at gunpoint. At the same moment, Wells reaches the scene, creating a deadly standoff between the three men. Ghost angrily reveals Gordon's past betrayal, but before he can finish, all three pull their triggers. Gordon and Wells fall wounded, while Ghost remains standing. Just then, John arrives from behind and shoots Ghost, finally ending his betrayal. John takes the injured Gordon and Naomi toward the airport, with the $25 million beside them, racing to escape before the police arrive.